Welcome back to Breaking Down Buhurt. I'm Sean Roberon, the team captain of the VAC Green Mountain Hermits.
And once again, I'm Colby, one of the duelists with the club and also the club treasurer, and also a pretty big cheerleader for the club, I would say. I'm in it, but I'm also a cheerleader for it too. So today we're going to be talking about some Vermont Armored Combat club updates, and a little bit more about just, what the sport, what the community, what this whole world kind of means to us personally. How, I think a lot of the times when we look at doing topics and with other folks' podcasts and YouTube videos or whatever, there's a lot of technical information out there on the internet, but some of the stuff I really love to hear is personal stories and that kind of encouragement of how people got involved, especially if they've never had any sort of, this just came totally out of blue for them, Mm-hmm. It's a wacky thing. It's dangerous looking, and it is dangerous. Mm-hmm. It takes guts, it takes strength. You're going to these events and people are watching you. So there's a performance aspect to it too, where you don't want to look bad in front of a bunch of people watching. So I think it's cool to just hear where people are coming from. That's what we got on the spot today. And I'd like to start with this. Just yesterday, we had the biggest practice we've ever had.
Yeah, we have a lot of new members.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of that? How about you give a little rundown for how that just came together and what it looks like?
Yeah. Well, when I hopped in about a year ago, we just had Arden, you, Will, and I. Those were the main people that were there.
Yeah.
And I think something that I've always kind of had a knack for is forming community, building community. That's what I've always done in any theater program that I've been involved in, and any type of organization. I'm usually the person that's just going, hello friend, let's all get together and do something together. And I've also just got a lot of excitement and energy for those types of things, and willingness to get out there and pull people in. And we managed to do that over this last year, bring in quite a few new people. We're definitely on board for our 5-person male team by, I would say, by the end of the summer. We'll have our 5-person male team. And we're actually on our way to having quite a few new members that are female or non-male identifying. It's pretty cool. It's definitely growing. And yesterday we had the ability to have a 3 versus 3 melee fight between people, the group fighting, which is what melees are. And with actually a couple people being able to interchange out during those fights as well, because we had a few more people than we had helmets, but not enough people to have a 4 versus 4, so we were always 3 versus 4. And then we also had a couple people just practicing, some of the new members working on their longsword techniques and other things like that off to the side. And we actually had 2 random guests show up who came because I put up a post on Facebook saying, if you're interested in coming and watching and just seeing what our group is like, come on down from this time to this time. And we actually had a couple guests show up just wanting to see what we were doing and talk to us about it. So went over great.
Yeah, it really did. I was surprised that I was thinking when we were at this practice, because we moved it outside. Usually we have this interior space we use. And that might just be the nature of it being cold the last, 8 months.
And thank you to Sidestream for letting us use that space.
Yes, that has been a lifesaver. And so we decided, let's just do an outdoor one. It's a nice day. It's going to be in the, high 60s. Cloudy, so won't get too sunburnt, though I still picked one up anyway. And we had, there were all the crates of people who want to do steel fighting. We had 3 people with kit. And so you have the big, husky boxes on the side with all the axes and stuff. And then we had all these soft kit weapons just splayed out. We had the club loaner gear. You picked up some cones so we could set up, just a space to do our fights. We made a little duel list off to one side, and then we put a 20 by 30 melee list over in another spot. And Will was marshalling for us. It was just it looked like a real practice.
And you mentioned that yesterday when we were standing around. You just kind of was this looks like an actual practice for armored combat stuff because we've got all these different things later.
Yeah,
Yep.
it doesn't. What really struck me was that it was like, over the last couple of years, it's always been, if I wanted to get involved with a bigger group of people and get to like, just meet new people with sword fighting and talk to, maybe train with different people, do different types of activities. It was always, we got to go to the Night Hall or go down to the Commons, or go to another team someplace who's doing something, was always kind of how that felt. Here, we just have our 3 members. We'll work out a little, we'll do Pell drills, we'll maybe spar at the end of practice. But to have it like all come together now at the home base was just, I thought, really phenomenal. And we have some footage, actually, of some of the melee stuff, which Sean put together. So maybe we'll cut to that and show you guys what was happening.
Just a quick blurb.
I think. All right, 2v1, let's go. Keep going.
I think I should be looking at your feet a little bit to see your stance. It's kind of hard to see right now. But it was good that you were circling. Like that was pretty good. Because otherwise, and I liked how you're moving too, because a lot of times when I do this with people, they kind of feel like they can't move at all, and they're like, oh, can I step now? So you totally got them moving. I'd say the next thing is to see if, like, let's say I was attacking you, and I go for my shot.
Come on, Art, get him to the
Now,
edge.
right after my shot bounces off, see if you can try and do an attack, like, almost right after I go. So, like...
Set up with the weapon strike. Strike and grab, strike and grab.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So we'll just, like, slowly pick up the pace a little bit, so you kind of feel, like, less time to, like, be thinking about, like, oh, what's that do? More, like, just kind of react to it.
Cycle 3.
So yeah, that was a quick clip of just some of our melee practice yesterday. And if you notice, like, the one where I completely left my feet because you charged into me and just... I went flying when we did the slow motion clip just then. It was so good. It was...
I did. I think it was in the audio there, me yelling, "I got Sean." Usually we don't try and rub it in when something like that happens, but Sean's thrown me probably 15 times since we've trained together, and this is the first time I ever got him. So I earned that one.
Yeah, you were very happy about it, and so was like I think everybody else who was there was very excited about it too.
Yeah.
But something to be aware of. So that was our a melee practice of 3 versus 3. And something to know is that in an actual melee, there would be a big wooden rectangle constructed around us. And that's called the list. And it's usually high enough that it could go about at my armpit or so. And when you're fighting inside that ring, a lot of the time fighters will end up on the list where they're actually kind of like leaning on it and they're grappling with somebody else on it. And they're trying not to fall over because once a third point of contact touches the ground, you're out and you stay down for the rest of the fight. And we tried coming up with certain rules in order to help simulate being on a list and trying to do that type of stuff, but we don't have a list yet, but we're working on that. But we had ways in which we were trying to work on that. So I guess it was kind of closer to our hay bale fights, if anything, when it came to the way our fights went yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of fun, and everybody did a really good job for their first time, like doing melee stuff together. And it was fun watching the little bit of evolution and learning that was happening while we were doing it, where after a little bit, people started to like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And like, let's start planning something, like actually trying to come up with tactics. And that's something that I find really fun about melees versus duels. Because on one-on-one, it's just you against just one other person. There's no strategy beyond yourself in that situation. But I enjoy the teamwork that comes with a melee, where you have to depend on other people and you're planning things out with each other. I like that concept. I enjoy strategy games. So like a melee is just, we are the pieces on a board. So it was a lot of fun. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this all goes nicely into our next thought that we have, which we want to talk about meeting people at their comfort level while still being encouraging and striving to push for growth in our kind of club atmosphere and practices. And so this for me was, I haven't done any melee stuff. I've been very nervous to do it. This whole kind of combat sport thing, martial arts has been very new for me. I've never done anything like that before. Even when we first started, like when Will was showing me longsword, I was aiming for their sword when we'd spar, because I'd be like, I don't want to actually hit you, like it just felt so weird. And same thing with grappling stuff. It's like, we have to touch now. That is the worst. Going to the Knights Hall and they're like, all right, everyone pick a partner and I'll get into ready position. I'm like, I have to touch their shoulders and grab the back of their head. Like, this is so weird. And now it's becoming more natural for me. And so doing this was like, I absolutely loved it. I definitely got the bug, I think, for melees, having always just watched from the sidelines. For Soft Kid, I had a blast with it. And I think I'm just going to find, in our atmosphere, finding, like as our team gets bigger and more people get steel, kind of being comfortable with our fighters that we have to like mess around with steel kit melees. But hopefully that will kind of branch off into me like feeling comfortable to go and participate with other clubs in the area. Still afraid of big two-handed weapons, though. And steel.
Yeah.
Still very afraid of that.
It's understandable. I've tried saying, like, I got hit by two-handed weapons when I was at war camp, and it didn't feel a whole lot heavier of a hit or worse of a hit than any time in which I've been hit with long swords and things like that. But they are scary to see coming at you. And somebody's got their axe up like this, moving towards you. You're just kind of like, I like my brain. And I would like that not to be damaged right now. So I get the concern over it. And
for sure.
And I like what you said about finding a way in which we're doing this, where we're meeting everybody at their level of comfortability.
Yeah.
That is definitely something we want at our club, is to make sure that everybody feels like they are in no rush by the rest of the group to get to a point that we would like them to be at. Like we would love it if every person who walked in was just, yep, let's fight, let's do stuff, I'm ready, I'm very excited to just jump right head first into it. But that isn't everybody's case. And we want to make sure that everybody who gets involved with us knows that if they're wanting to watch, if they're wanting to learn through observation for a while, if there's someone who is very nervous about getting into melees but feels comfortable about duels, or wants to specialize in certain things, that's really great. And we want to help everybody be well-rounded and help them spread out from maybe those specializations. But we want to help everybody grow in whatever level and speed of growth that they wish to go through.
Yeah. And I think that, part of the atmosphere of our practice, and that's why we have such a diligent like vetting process that you and Will go through new folks who are just reaching out online, is just to try and make sure that when we did these melees yesterday, like this is the chance where people can, get hurt more so than with a duel, where if you land weird, you might land wrong, and just twist something in a weird way, and then you could be out for months. And nobody wants that. So all the fighting that we did the other day, like people were just like laughing the whole time, just saying crazy, silly things. Like it was Cody was constantly, as soon as someone like threw him down to the ground, he's like, "Oh, that was so good, great throw, that was amazing," and I just really appreciated how encouraging everyone was. It was always like fun and silly and just like and exhausting, but also just I don't know. I felt like we were all on the same team, even though we were against each other.
Right.
There
was no level of competition that equated to like ego.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So besides what we had with the melees, we also had some steel fighting, some steel duels, and I think we have some clips of that too.
Yeah, we got a little bit of footage.
So that kind of shows what was also going on like a little bit later in the practice, and also our small little dueling square that we had set up for later in the day.
Rest.
All right, so yeah, we had 3 members with steel who were able to do this after we did all our melee practice. So just to point out, I had the black brig. That's a joke because everyone has a black brig, it seems. But I was all black with the obviously the silver and like white gambeson underneath. And then Sean had little bits of green left still, and also a black brig. Yes, no longer the green, no longer the green knight.
I hate it so much.
That's me over in the other corner here, right behind me, Eagle, and then Alpha Eagle.
Sure, whatever you want.
Okay. And then Michael was in the red, and that's his second time I think in his kit so far, or something like that. He's very fresh to it. It was just cool. We got to get everything in there. We had a whole 11 to 5 o'clock practice.
Yeah, it was a long practice.
6-hour practice. Yeah, how did you feel after doing like a day of melees and going into steel kit at the end of the day?
It was exhausting. I'll say that. Like melees, that I feel there's different levels of being tired when it comes to melees versus duels. I feel like duels actually tucker you out more because you are the only person fighting that other person that whole time. Pro fights and night fights more so than just a duel, because once you're getting into the grappling and the punching and the kicking and getting thrown down and having to get back up, I think that is more taxing and exhausting than just doing like a longsword duel. Melees are like, there's a lot of grappling and all that, but a fight could last, a minute or less. And during that time, there's a lot of moving around, not in contact with someone, because you're trying to figure out the opportune time to become in contact with another person.
Yeah.
So I just, but it was very tiring. Like by the time we did one of our fights, I was tapped out. Like, because I fought Michael, and then once we fought, I was so exhausted. I just threw the weapons on the ground, and I had to just like stand there for a little bit, get my visor up, and just breathe actual air, because I was just very, very tired. And that's something that I'm also working on specifically with axes. They're so difficult to wield without them rotating in your hand. And they're so top heavy, so like it's so different than swinging around like an arming sword or a long sword, where there's a much more balanced weapon that has a lot more finesse to it. Whereas with an axe, when I chop into you, there's not a whole lot of the flourish and finesse that you can do like with a blade. So it's a completely different beast trying to learn how to use that properly. But yeah, I was tired, but it was a lot of fun, and I'll do it every week.
And so, I mean, I feel like that hits on our last thing in the last few minutes we have, just about like what this practice for people who are watching this, who have seen us around. You know, we had those 2 guys who came to watch our practice last week. Like, what does our sport, what does Buhurt, what does this club kind of bring to you, just as a person who's existing? You know, like, obviously you're coming back each week. We're putting on this TV thing. We're doing a lot with this. We're working at a school. So, like, what does it bring to you that keeps bringing you back?
I've talked about this in the past. Just I love fighting. Just for one thing, like there is a very selfish, individualistic aspect for me where I enjoy fighting, and it's nice having people around who will fight me.
Yeah.
So that's nice. But I also really enjoy the community and knowing that we're creating this place that others can come into and find that solace inside of, can find that amount of comfort through camaraderie. Yeah. So those are the 2 extremes for me that I feel, is that selfishness, but then also just the overarching group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And what about you?
Well, I feel like we live in such a digital existence. I know I do. I know not a lot of people necessarily have computer work that they have to do all the time. But I find myself like alone at home doing my, like when it's editing season, that's my gig. So I'm just like not really getting a lot of human interaction. And so this, I just feel like it gets me out of like internet brain, where I feel like, I'm equally existing online as I am as a human on like planet Earth. And this like one thing a week, I look forward to it all week. It's fun. It's like childlike fun. Like that almost, it reminded me of Capture the Flag yesterday or Dodgeball or something. It's just running around, goofing around, having some laughs, hanging out with your buds. And it's like, it's something that I really do. Like, I don't want my life to just pass by quickly. So I don't want to wish away days, but I'm already excited for next Sunday, and it's Monday. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's sad, but I guess it's just showing how much of a good time I'm having doing it. And so that's the big draw for me. It's just like a complete blast. I just love how I like making friends with this and making all these connections, and it's like a physical presence in like this digital age that we're in, to do something actually fun.
100% agree.
Yeah. So I guess with that, I do want to say again, we're doing this show so we can get more people, in the know about armored combat sports or Buhurt, and also specifically about the Vermont chapter of this whole world. So if you're local and you're interested in reaching out and doing what we're doing, or just coming by and spectating sometime, reach out to Sean at
worldunderwonder@gmail.com or our Facebook
of
Vermont Armored Combat.
Yeah, send us a message there.
And not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, June 1st, we're going to be down at the Knights Hall from 5 until 7 doing duels and some other fights like that. And then from 7 to 9, you get to watch some melee fights put on by the Knights Hall people.
That's a good time.
And they're the executioners. They just brought home a gold from... where were they? In Virginia. Do you remember what event that was?
I don't know where it was, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they were involved in a big melee thing there. But they're a blast to watch when it comes to melees. So if you want to see a good group fight, come down to the Knights Hall next June 1st, Saturday. Yeah, and watch some of that. And then just keep an eye out for all the other events that we're going to be doing over the course of June.
Yeah, we'll mention them on these shows, and we'll also put it on our Facebook. Yeah. We're going to be at Gallery Walk again in June as well. Yeah.
So thank you very much for watching the show.